Thank you all. First of all, this is Dr. Roshan Palewar, and given the opportunity, I would like to present the entire insight from the industry, especially on the artificial intelligence in drug discovery and the drug development, right? Well, let me tell you, since I'm hardcore coming from the pharmaceutical industry, and to be honest, where I have developed more than 400 formulations for a regulated market like US, Europe, Japan, Asia Pacific, as well as I lead a team of more than 600 scientists globally and operated almost 172 countries. So let me tell you, there will be a lot of surprises, a lot of facts that I'm going to share amongst all of us today. And one promise that I would like to share with you, that next 40-45 minutes or approx, let's say 50 minutes, are going to be very exciting and interesting to all of us. And I would just request, let you should be ready with your notes, as well as ready to capture some pictures, because there are some facts which are very exclusive, which I would be able to share today. And that's what we are now moving ahead. Well, when we talk about the pharmaceutical industry, the discovery, the development, in short, the drugs, right? But only pharma can't be in isolation. So obviously there are a lot of things happens, right? There is a science, there is a technology, and there is a data. And these all three areas together, when you look as an intersection between three main key areas, there is what the artificial intelligence comes into the pictures, the data mining comes into the picture, healthcare technology comes into the picture, right? Because the science is all about working and developing the formulation, drugs, diagnosis of the diseases, and obviously giving the treatment or the cure to the respective therapy areas, right? Whereas when technology comes into the picture, there are a lot of advantage, because it comes with a lot of unique advanced artificial intelligence, machine learning kind of programmings. Not just that, there are the NLP programs, and importantly the big data analytics. So how this happens? Because we have the data, right? Now this data could be the real world data, this could be the published and available data on the various platforms and the forums, as well as there are heavy data. It could be structured or unstructured, so we put it as a big data altogether, right? Now, fact of the matter is that when we discuss about this, the pharma industry actually takes the upper hand and positioning this data more meaningfully in the line of treatment or the development of the formulations of the drugs in the entire life cycle of the drug discovery, as well as the what you call the generic formulation altogether. So this is very cohesive in bond, right? And because the advancement in the technology, this is actually ease the entire process of development and making the things much more acceptable, right? Now, since we are talking about the pharma, we can't forget the importance of the P. And from my perspective, the P's are, they're the key eight parameters. One is the patient. Whatever we are developing or making the formulations, these are ultimately in the betterment of the patient's lifestyle, right? So obviously there are the providers. The next P is the payers. There are the sponsors, either company, it could be XYZ organizations. There are the policymakers governed by the authorities, right? There is the patient advocacy groups, advisory boards who monitor the entire programs, right? And on top of that, the pharmaceutical industry. And the further extension is the pharmaceutical chains. And the last important aspect about the P is the packaging of packaging companies. So whatever comes from the R&D to the production, and from production to the market, every single thing is driven by the factor of P, and that is how the healthcare ecosystem has been built. Now, I would like to give some glimpse about a few elements. My presentation would cover most of the areas about the pharmaceutical industry in the global context, and then obviously the Indian context also. The other section of the presentation would cover about the healthcare technology, right? And third important aspect would be on the artificial intelligence and how this technology are actually helping the entire pharma industry to do the systematically cost-effective development and bring the best of the formulation in the market at early phase, right? So let's welcome once again and we are talking about the global pharma industry worldwide. Now you'll be very surprised. The total revenue when we were looking at almost 22 years back, let's say in 2001, the revenue was around $390 billion. Now after almost 20 years, in fact, in 2014 itself, this is crossed approx around 1 trillion US dollars. And that is how the growth of the pharma industry happened. But that is not the desaturation point. The pharma industry is growing rapidly with a CAGR of almost 15.6 percentile and reaching today at $1.25 trillion. And as per the projection is concerned, by 2023, it's going to cross 1.5 trillion US dollar. That's the potential of
Uh,
the.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. I think the slides doesn't seem to move.
Oh, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because what the people are able to see is only first slide.
Oh my goodness.
Technical issues, you know. We are talking about machine and all.
Right. I don't know why it is so. Just a moment. Because I was able to, go through the individual slides.
No, you were able to, but when we were sharing the slide to others, only the first slide was visible.
Okay. Would you suggest me to share the entire screen
No, no, I
as a?
won't. What you do, sir, if your PPT is open, when we go
Yeah.
for the slideshow mode, so
Yeah.
when we go for the slideshow mode, you minimize it and go to that meeting. And from that meeting, then select the share screen. So in that, there will be two PPTs, one PPT show and one PPT itself. So PPT show, we have to select.
Okay. After putting this option, I'm getting three further options: your entire screen, a
Yes.
window, and tab. So
So
if I select,
if you are not comfortable, you can share the entire screen. So whatever you will do on the screen, it will be visible to us. Because of that privacy concerns, I didn't recommend that thing to you.
right. So I'm getting the pop-up like presenting to everyone. Okay. But okay, let me put it in the.
Can you click on the bottom slideshow icon near that magnification?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have done that now. So are you
So
able to see the farmer discussion slide now?
yes, we are able to see.
I'm changing the slide now. Are you able to see that?
No, sir,
The eight
no,
views? No.
no.
Okay.
So what you do, sir, Alt tab, you go to that slide show, brother. This is the slide, what we can see. 8 P's of healthcare ecosystem we are able to see.
Okay. So I need to, okay, that's fair point. I can do that way also. Fairly applied. Okay. Okay. Fair point. So we are right now on the farmer discussion slide. Yes, I think let's do this way because if I put it on the entire slide presentation mode, the slides are not changing actually. So let me keep it like that.
Uh, it's fine, sir, as you please.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So pharma. Let me just sum up in just less than a minute. We were talking about the pharma discussion in terms of the science, technology, and the data altogether. How this is helping and making the interception where the technology comes into the picture and helping the entire pharmaceutical processes of development. Right. And then we also talk about the 8 P's, which are making the entire healthcare ecosystem. Right now, I was on the slide of the pharmaceutical industry worldwide, how the entire global pharma industry has growing today and reaching 1 trillion, already cost 1 trillion and today 1.25 trillion US dollar and about to reach 1 trillion mark in 2023. This is the potential of the entire pharma industry, right? Now, um, that is about the global industry. But what about the Indian pharma industry? The Indian pharma industry is also doing remarkably great things. Today, the total revenue of the Indian pharma industry is about $55 billion. Okay. And whereas in 2005, it was around $6 billion. Now, if you look in altogether, the graph itself is very strong and indicating that the pharma industry, no matter what happens in the external environment, what happens in the entire world, uh, this industry is growing steadily and making its strong position in the entire, competition, right? That is what the power of the pharma industry altogether. Okay, so in that context, when I talk about the Indian pharma industry, I would like to bifurcate and say that, in the entire pharma industry, there are the three segments where the industry is driving. One is the generic drugs altogether, then there's OTC medicines and the patented formulations, right? Now, the 70% of the entire portion of the market is driven by the generic formulations, right? And this is the segment where the entire generic formulations are being sold, exported across the globe, especially the US, which is almost 65 to 70% of their total requirement, is being supplied from the Indian pharma industry on the generic front, right? Whereas the remaining 21% is for the OTC formulations, and obviously the leftover is a 9%, which is of high worth value. These are the patented formulations. Now, uh, I would further like to take you and let you know about how the industry is actually making the business from the export perspective, right? And I'm going to correlate every single point with the artificial intelligence, how this is going to, making the, things happening, okay? So manufacturing, when it comes for the pharmaceutical, let me tell you, this is a really pride moment, where all of us would be very, very much pride to be part of the pharma sector altogether, because in the entire world, India is at the third largest market in terms of the total volume. Okay, not just that. Okay, it's the sixth largest market in terms of the size what the Indian pharma industry is doing it. Now, this is all accounting for approx 10% of the total world's population. I mean, world's total production demand. The 10% is being supplied from by the, Indian pharma industry. Now, this is altogether carrying almost $22 billion as a revenue from the Indian pharma industry for the export-oriented formulations, and this is actually we are catering almost 200 countries. And doing the miracles in the entire worldwide pharma industry. Whereas now let's understand, I'm sure this slide is very very unique, and possibly most of you are knowing about this slide in terms of the how the drug life cycle actually happens. So in the entire journey of the drug discovery, there are the multiple phases, right? And every single phase are the crucial one, starting from pre-discovery to drug discovery phase, which is including the preclinical, which approximately takes around 3 to 6 years, right? And in the preclinical phase, there are almost 250 or of 10,000, let's say, compounds we say as a drug candidate are actually screened through and hardly make it to almost 250 for the preclinical phase, right? And then after, when it comes to the clinical trials, from phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, there are around just 4 to 5 molecules who actually make it to these particular phases. And in this entire phase, the phase 1, where almost 20 to 80 healthy volunteers are being part of this clinical trial, whereas in phase 2, there are around 300 clinical healthy volunteers, right? Now, this is something very challenging, because this is the kind of the results. It enters into the phase 3, where now the size of the patients are pretty large. Almost 1,000 patients are goes into this clinical phase 3 trial, and extracts the entire clinical data. Basis that the entire doses get formulated, and the dosage gets submitted to the FDA. FDA reviews those kind of things, mechanisms of the doser reviews, and ultimately basis the kind of data has been generated and significant clinical presence, the FDA approves the product. And ultimately the entire journey of the selection of the drug candidate to the drug market is approximately 15 years to 16 years time frame, right? And uh, the large portion of the development, which is around approx 14 years, 12 to 14 years, is what the entire life cycle of the drug formulations, right, in the discovery. And therefore, since it's very complex in nature, a lot of parameters are being evaluated. There is a complexity in the development, the complexity in the clinical trials, the complexity in the screening process altogether. And therefore, the upper hand of the technology comes into the pictures and shaping the entire what you call the process much more convenient and easy at the same time. Okay, if I would like to further extend and share the entire drug development value chain from drug R&D and clinical trials. There are the key four areas that we actually map. That's the seed round, which is nothing but the drug R&D phase. There is a series A, which almost 2 years time frame for the lead optimization or the generations, and then obviously the series B, the preclinical phase, and ultimately the out licensing part, which is a series C, where the complexity has in manifold. Now, if if that is all about the drug discovery, then what happens in the pharma drug life cycle? Okay, in the pharma drug life cycle altogether, if you look into the early phase, which involves the massive research from preclinical to phase 3 trial, okay, and this is actually under the development almost 14 years, pretty long time. And when it comes to the mid of the phase, where we say is as a after the launch, uh, the product get introduced in the market, there is a growth, there is a maturity, and then slowly the declination starts. And at one point, uh, even the innovators then start doing the what you call the reformulations or the remodifications of the existing doses, and bringing what you call the further extension of their exclusivity, and thereby, if the generic pharma companies are very keen, they do what you call the para 4 filing and bring the uh, lookalike formulations, a generic formulation in the market, which is again a late phase, and therefore the loss of exclusivity, it stops over here itself. That is about the discovery. When it comes to the development of the generic formulations, I'm sure this is something that all of you are aware about it, but just let me put it in a nutshell. From research to development, from drug selection to enter the entire market, this could take approx 1 year to 2 years, depending upon the kind of formulations and everything. Now, why I'm highlighting these factors about the different market, different life cycle, different discovery phases, generic phases, this is to highlight that the pharma research is massively uh, driven by the science, driven by the technology, and therefore there are the chances of risk are pretty high. Okay, in a way to optimize the risk or reduce the risk, not only on the development but also to reduce the cost of development and bring the formulation to the market at the earliest possible. Therefore the technology comes into the pictures, right? And there are a lot many what you call the different data sets, different programs, different softwares, and different techniques have been used to optimize the entire process and reduce or minimize the risk factors and bring the formulation at the earliest in the market, right? Here, therefore, I wanted to tell you surprisingly, because this is not going to correlate how the technology works in the real world. Uh, we know that we spend a quality time in the development, but what happens in the world of technology in just 60 seconds, just in a 1 minute, there are many uh, data get generated. If you talk about what you call the text or the Facebook, we generate millions of text. Okay, similarly in the YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and there's so many other digital platforms. Okay, every single second there is a massive data get generated, right? And this is how the technology actually making our life bit easy and comfortable. But that is about the more on the social front, right? But in the context of the pharmaceutical, such technologies which is much more advanced from the discovery perspective or the development perspective for the pharmaceutical industry, which has been customized and bringing the innovation in ease and in the comfort of the cost. That is how the healthcare industry comes into the picture. And if you look into the entire healthcare market, okay, the entire healthcare market globally is standing approx 390.7 billion dollars, which is projected by 2024. and this is again growing rapidly. The healthcare market, with the help of the technologies, this is again evolving and growing rapidly. Similarly, in the Indian context, the healthcare market is approximately 485 billion rupees by 2024. And this is how the growing volume of the patient data, which has been generated at various time points, is increasing. There is a technological know-how is implemented. There is a demand for the quick and the efficient healthcare processes and the systems, which makes the entire healthcare driven market as a solution provider, right? And in that line, what we also see, the artificial intelligence. Now, this is something I would like to bring to your attention. In simplify, the artificial intelligence altogether, this is again a combination of what you call the artificial intelligence and machine learning. Again, nothing but it's a branch of the computer science, obviously, which is actually helped to stimulate the human intelligence, okay, in uh, most context to the drugs as well as the pharmaceutical industry, right? Now, how this happens, this is a big market, by the way. The artificial intelligence itself is a next kind of wave in the entire development of the pharmaceuticals. And therefore, the total market as of, if you look into 2018, it was around $10 billion. But whereas in projection to 2025, it's going to cross $126 billion. Now, if you look just matter of less than 10 years, this is rapidly growing in 10x, and that is how it indicates this artificial intelligence, machine learnings are the core part of the pharmaceutical development, because these are the tools which has been massively been used in the drug discovery process as well as in the drug formulation processes. And this capability actually helps in the what you call the identification in the drug compositions, as well as in the identifying and treating the specific kind of disease traits, right? And this how it happens, this is something interesting that I wanted to share with all of you. When it comes to the applications of this AI, artificial intelligence, across the value chain, rather than just in the discovery, let's broadly talk about this, how this AI has been used in the pharma value chain altogether. So basically, I look into four areas. One is the discovery, second is the drug development, third is the healthcare technology or healthcare delivery systems, and fourth is the novel technologies, right? Now, in drug discovery phase, this has been massively used when it comes to the high throughput screening. Screening of, let's say, 10,000 compounds, going one by one. It's a massive time efforts. To reduce that, AI comes into the pictures, right? How this they do it, because there are the available data sets, there are available real-time data also, and this human intelligence and the artificial intelligence is being plugged into the system, and they accordingly certain parameters, certain points, this being help us to give the precise analytics, precise information about how this particular drug candidate is going to behave or going to give the results accordingly, right? Similarly, it's been used in the drug repositioning, indication expansion areas. Not just that, but also in the polypharmacology, right? That is about the drug discovery. Now it comes to the drug development. It's not only been used in the formulation development and the initial what you call the screening process, but also in the clinical trials, designing of the clinical trials, designing of the protocols, designing and selection of the subjects, designing and optimization of the clinical trials. And apart from that, the combination therapy that is being used with the combination of drugs, that is also been furtherly been AI has been used in that kind of processes, right? Patient satisfaction is something on top of everything, sorry, stratification. This is how the AI comes into the pictures, and biomarker identification, right? Now, when it comes to delivery of this entire healthcare solutions, this is massively been used, and this is how we have been seen, observed in this pandemic time also, where every single healthcare related solutions, whether it's a medicines, whether it's a, doctor appointment or consultation, have been done completely virtually, digitally, I would say, from physical to digital. There where this AI comes into the picture, machine learning comes into the pictures, in terms of the electronic health record, in terms of the patient data management, personalization of the medicines, patient medications, and so many other parameters also, right? And in terms of the novelty of the technologies, other areas like the gene therapies, gene editing, uh, and packaging innovations, this is something continuously the development is happening in a way to have the higher patient compliance, and also to enhance the sales force effectiveness when it comes to the ground reality. This is how the AI is being pictured and been used in the entire value chain of this process. But again, why this? The question comes, why the AI is so much important in the today's world? If I look into the real data and the real facts, this process of developing the drug and the success rate altogether, this out of 100%, hardly 13% of the drugs are make it to the clinical trials, and out of those 13%, hardly 2% or 1% goes for the commercialization. This is how the risk and the chunking of the drug selection on the drug discovery complexity is involved into it, right? And this is again costly affair. Not every single pharma company doing the drug discoveries, because approx $2 billion goes into the entire discovery. So it's a big game, right? And every single phase is a challenging. And to reduce such challenges, to reduce the risk, to reduce the errors, the use of technologies like AI and ML have been massively been used, and this is going to be further trained. I would say the projections of application of this AI in 2020 versus 2030 are 10x higher, right? And if anything, if I talk about more from the academic perspective, if you do your what do you call the research or your PhD work or thesis work more aligned or more focusing on these trendy areas, then that research would be having a greater value in the coming days, and this is how we should also look into the opportunities available in the industry from that side of it. Yeah. Now how this is goes hand in hand, one side is a data science where a lot of data previous research as well as the real world data is available. Computational models also available. There are the machines, there is the program, there are the softwares are there, versus the biological science, right? And how this has been applicable, which we also mentioned about the pathways, disease, pathophysiology, different scientific correlations, insights, and the experimentation. This gives the complete perspective, and also making our entire process bit easy, convenient, and accuracy. That is something more important, right? This all together help us to bring the formulations, or the do the development at absolutely ease, right? This is how these technologies are shaping place in the market today, right? Yeah, there are the few trends in the industry where the research is being driven, and these technologies, including which I mentioned, artificial intelligence, not just that, the blockchain technologies, the mobile technologies, the IoTs, the automations, and the big data. These are the core part of the pharma industry now. Those era have been gone completely. If I look into, let's say, 15 years back, possibly these were not even the terminologies, or not even the methods were available, or tools were available where the pharma industry could have done that. But today, with the help of all these advanced applications and the tools, the process of scalability from the lab scale to the commercial scale, from commercial to the market, from what do you call the research to the market, the entire segment and the entire process, okay, have been drastically and massively been improved. And this gives the upper hand to do the novelties using such kind of the tools and techniques, and implementing the more advanced formulations or the discoveries in the respective therapy areas, right? Now, this is one side of the artificial intelligence, but the other side, because this also helps in bringing this massive data, which is a big data, into the very much meaningful and affordable, and what do you call the time-saving reports with the help of the analysis, with the help of the visualizations, and this derives the very valuable insights from the what you call the massive data, okay, this scientific data into much more meaningful, because there are a lot of algorithms have been said, there are a lot of data sets are being plugged into the systems, and this actually help us to give the clarity of the massive data into much more meaningful and the visual way, so that the decision making becomes very easy and the faster. Because in today's competitive world, what do you call speed to market is something a success factor, no matter how massive the development is happening, but we are not able to provide the novelty in real time or in a given time frame to the market, then possibly the competition or those particular development might be going off from the market altogether, because there are a lot of advancement happens. If not one company, there are the other companies who are going to adopt these technologies and are going to be the smarter in the entire competition, right? And therefore this kind of informations where the streamlining of the entire big data are actually value added solutions in the today's world, right? Yeah, when it comes to providing the solutions, there are many players available, but if you look into this the kind of processes they adopt or how they do it in simplified way, actually uh, they have kind of unique data sets which has what you call help in the comparing of the data, contrasting of the data with the available real data also, and correlating the available information versus the real information and presenting in a very systematic way, okay. And there are what you call very much potential to transform the medicines in the meaningful way, because this technology are today in today's world are the asset of the companies, this enhance the entire productivity from development to the commercializations, right? And thereby ultimately it enhances the profitability of the companies. And rather than just sticking with the industry, these technologies have been massively been used in all over the sectors also, right? So depending upon the context of this sector, the application have been implemented, right? And if I wanted to just sum up with respect to how the healthcare technologies are shaping a place and how this has been useful in the entire ecosystems, there are the remote monitoring areas where this technology has been massively used. The telemedicine is another side of the advancement where the AI and the ML is being used. Mobile health is another tools and the applications. And similarly, the general healthcare when it comes to CIS and the non-CIS categories of the IT, the big data, in the real world are the opportunities for today's world, and this actually help us to advance in the entire process of the development altogether, right? Um, Now what I see that no matter how smart we are or how what you call equipped with the tools and techniques that we have, it's the our success and the growth is actually depends upon the how we use our mind, the applications in the real world. So having just parachute is not enough. We need to actually open those parachute and make ourselves survived in the highly competitive world. That is what the message I would like to give to all of you. Thank you so much.